I was 32 when I met Nathan Brooks, a man whose quiet intensity could pull you in like a riptide. It was the summer of 2015 in Asheville, North Carolina, where the Blue Ridge Mountains loomed like silent guardians over the city's eclectic pulse. I ran a gritty little bookstore on Haywood Street, surrounded by vinyl records and the faint hum of buskers outside. Nathan rolled in one humid afternoon, his wheelchair cutting a smooth path through the cluttered aisles, his hands deft and powerful, like a sculptor shaping stone. He wasn't what I'd imagined love could be. At 36, Nathan was magnetic, dark auburn hair swept back messily, and piercing gray eyes that seemed to see through you. His smirk was dangerous, like he held secrets you'd kill to know, and it sent a jolt through me the first time he flashed it. He asked for a dog-eared copy of The Crying of Lot 49, and when I handed it over, our fingers grazed, the air crackled, and I knew I was in trouble. "Read it before?" I asked, my voice betraying a tremor. "Every year," he said, his voice low, like a storm brewing. "Pynchon's chaos keeps me sharp." That was the spark. We talked for hours that day, about books, then dive bars, then the way Asheville thrummed with hidden stories. He came back the next day, and the next, his presence filling the shop like a melody. By the end of the week, I was inventing reasons to hover near the door, pulse racing at the sight of his silhouette. Nathan was a freelance journalist, chasing stories for local papers and obscure blogs, with a knack for unearthing truths people wanted buried. He'd been in a climbing accident at 24, he told me one night over whiskey at a speakeasy tucked behind Biltmore Avenue. The fall shattered his spine, leaving him paralyzed from the hips down. He shrugged it off like it was just a bad hand in poker, but his eyes darkened when he mentioned it. I was drawn to that edge, the way he danced between defiance and vulnerability. He was razor sharp, wickedly funny, and I fell so hard it scared me. We didn't date, we collided. We'd spend evenings at the River Arts District, him sketching the graffiti-covered walls while I spun wild tales inspired by the art. He'd muck my melodramatic narration, and I'd fire back until we were both laughing, breathless. At night, we'd race up to the Blue Ridge Parkway in his modified Jeep, park under a sky ablaze with stars, and bare our souls, his hunger for truth, my restless dream of writing a novel that mattered. He kissed me up there, fierce and unguarded, his hand tangled in my hair, and I thought, this is what it means to be alive. But Nathan had shadows. I'd catch him staring out the window, jaw tight, when I asked about his past. He'd dodge with a quip or a kiss, and I'd let it go. Too intoxicated by him to dig. I thought love meant giving him time. I was dead wrong. 8 months in, Nathan vanished. It was November, the air sharp with frost. We were supposed to meet at a dive bar after my shift, but he didn't show. My texts went unread, my calls unanswered. I stormed to his loft near the French Broad River, but it was empty. The door locked, his bike gone. By the next day, his phone was disconnected. By the end of the week, I was a mess, swinging between rage and dread. Was he hurt? Had I been a fool? The silence was a blade, twisting deeper each day. I tracked down his editor at a local paper, a gruff woman named Carla. She looked at me like I was a stray dog. "Nathan quit last week, said he was done with Asheville." That's all I got. She shut down my questions, citing personal boundaries, and I left her office feeling like I'd been punched. I became obsessed. His social media was wiped clean. His email bounced back. I hounded mutual contacts, bartenders, artists, even a hacker friend who owed me a favor. Nothing. I drove to a rundown house in Candler he'd once mentioned, where he said an old mentor lived. The grizzled man who answered claimed he hadn't seen Nathan in a decade. His eyes darted, and I knew he was lying. But I had no way to prove it. I was 32, gutted, and chasing a ghost. Life dragged me forward. I sold the bookstore, moved to Durham for a tech writing gig, tried to rebuild. I dated, but it was hollow. Nathan haunted me. A wheelchair in a crowd, a snatch of Nirvana on the radio. And I'd be back in that summer, heart in my throat. I hated how he still owned me. 5 years later, in 2020, I found him. It was a fluke, the kind that feels like a cosmic middle finger. I was in Charlotte for a conference, scrolling X in a dimly lit bar when a post caught my eye. Whistleblower exposes Asheville nonprofit scam. The grainy photo showed a man in a wheelchair, older, leaner, but unmistakable. Nathan. My hand shook as I read. The article detailed how Nathan Brooks had dismantled a nonprofit called True Path, which claimed to fund accessibility programs. As their outreach coordinator, he'd uncovered a scheme where the director, Vivian Holt, was laundering donations through shell companies. Nathan had leaked documents to the press, sparking arrests and a federal probe. The piece called him a renegade, a man who'd burned his life down for justice. It said he'd fled to Charlotte, hiding from the fallout. I didn't think, I acted. The article mentioned True Path's old office, so I dove into digital rabbit holes, court filings, ex-posts, leaked emails. Vivian Holt wasn't just skimming, she was funneling millions to a syndicate, tied to local elites, council members, a DA, even a tech mogul. Nathan had played detective, risking everything to expose them. But why cut me out? Why run from me? I got his addresses from a shady ex-contact who traded info for crypto. It was a nondescript loft in Charlotte's South End, all glass and steel. I drove there at dawn, adrenaline buzzing like a live wire. No call, no warning. I wasn't giving him a chance to bolt. When he opened the door, I nearly faltered. He was gaunt, his auburn hair streaked with silver, his gray eyes weary but still piercing. "Sarah," he said, my name a cracked note. I wanted to scream, to claw answers from him, but I choked out, "You owe me the truth." He let me in, his movements slow, like a man expecting a firing squad. The loft was bare, laptop, books, a single chair. We sat and he spilled it. "I didn't want to run," he said, "but they gave me no choice." He told me about True Path. He'd joined to write their newsletter, but his nose for lies sniffed out fraud, fake grants, ghost employees. Vivian Holt was a viper, charming but lethal. When Nathan started digging, she didn't just threaten him, she had his medical. He told me about True Path. He'd joined to write their newsletter, but his nose for lies sniffed out fraud, fake grants, ghost employees. Vivian Holt was a viper, charming but lethal. When Nathan started digging, she didn't just threaten him. She had his apartment bugged, his phone tapped. She knew about me, us. She sent him photos of me at the bookstore, alone, with a note, "Back off, or she's next." Nathan didn't know how far she'd go, but he wasn't gambling with my life. So he burned his bridges, quit his job, scrubbed his digital footprint, and vanished to a nowhere town in Tennessee, where he kept digging, feeding intel to a journalist under an alias. He thought he was protecting me. "I wanted to tell you," he said, his voice raw. "But every time I pictured you, I saw those photos. I couldn't let them touch you." My anger frayed into grief for the years stolen from us. But his eyes flickered. There was more. "What aren't you saying?" I demanded. He hesitated, then dropped the bomb. Holt wasn't just a crook. She was a cog in a machine. Her syndicate wasn't local. It stretched to DC, maybe higher. Politicians, lobbyists, black market dealers. Nathan's leaks had cracked their empire, but they were hunting him. He'd been dodging shadows ever since. Fake IDs, burner phones, new cities every year. The Charlotte article was a slip, a moment of hubris that lit a beacon for his enemies. "They're still out there," he said, "and now you've walked into their crosshairs." I froze. Part of me wanted to hate him for dragging me into this, for thinking I was too fragile to fight. But I saw the toll, his trembling hands, the paranoia in his glance toward the window. He'd carried hell to keep me safe. We talked until dawn, unraveling our lost years. I told him about my life, new job, new city, new scars. He listened, that old smirk flickering, now laced with pain. When I left, he gripped my hand, fierce and fleeting. "Get out of Charlotte, Sarah. Don't look back." I drove to Durham, heart pounding, checking my rear view for tails. I wanted to believe it was over, that his confession had cut us free. But 3 days later, my phone buzzed with a text from a blocked number. You were warned. A photo was attached. Me leaving his loft, time-stamped that morning. I haven't heard from Nathan since. I scan X news feeds, dreading his name, praying he's still a ghost. I've changed my locks, my number, my roots. Love, the real kind, brands you for life. And sometimes the truth is a fuse burning toward a bomb you can't outrun.
If you enjoyed my story about Nathan and the truth I uncovered, give this video a like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Drop a comment below with your thoughts on the story and whether you've ever experienced anything like it in your own life. Your support inspires me to share more stories.